When we think about danger, we often imagine physical threats. But the truth is, some of the deepest wounds come not from strangers on the street, but from people we trust, people who wear masks of friendship, loyalty, or even love. Evil intentions don't always arrive with horns and fire. They often arrive with charm, flattery, and false promises. If we want to live wholehearted lives, we need to learn how to recognize the red flags, because awareness is our greatest shield and self-trust is our greatest weapon. One of the most dangerous signs that someone carries harmful intentions is the way they handle your vulnerabilities. Vulnerability is sacred. It's the raw, unfiltered version of who you are, the place where you risk being truly seen. When you open up about your fears, your wounds, or the chapters of your life that carry shame or regret, you are offering someone a fragile gift. A healthy person will hold that gift carefully. They'll treat it with tenderness, protect it, and make you feel safe enough to share even more of your heart. But someone with evil intentions doesn't see your vulnerability as a gift. They see it as leverage. These are the people who lean in attentively when you confess your struggles, not because they care, but because they are gathering weapons. They will remember your pain, not to heal it, but to use it against you in the future. They may repeat your secrets in casual conversations to embarrass you, or worse, they'll throw your struggles back at you in moments of conflict, as if your honesty was proof of weakness. And here's what makes this red flag so insidious. In the beginning, it may not be obvious. At first, it looks like trust. It feels like connection. They'll encourage you to open up. They'll tell you they just want to understand you, and you may even feel a sense of relief sharing your story. But over time, you notice a shift. Your most tender truths are suddenly weapons in arguments or jokes made at your expense, or reminders that you should be grateful they're putting up with you. The danger here is subtle, but it's profound. When someone exploits your vulnerabilities, they're training you to distrust yourself. You start to second-guess sharing, even with safe people. You wonder if every ear is listening to hurt rather than to heal. And slowly, you begin to hide. That's the real harm. They rob you not just of trust in them, but of your trust in everyone. But here's the truth. Your vulnerability is not the problem. Their misuse of it is. Vulnerability is still beautiful. It's still courageous. And the fact that someone chose to weaponize it does not mean you should live a life of silence or walls. It means you need to choose more carefully who earns access to your deepest self. So here's the red flag. If you notice someone consistently turning your confessions into tools for control, criticism, or humiliation, believe what you see. That is not love. That is not safety. That is exploitation. And exploitation is one of the clearest signs of evil intent. One of the most subtle but most damaging red flags of a person with evil intentions is their ability to twist your reality. This isn't about simple disagreements. This is about deliberately distorting your truth until you no longer trust your own mind. It often starts small. They may deny saying something you clearly remember. You bring up a past conversation, and they shake their head with confidence and say, "I never said that. You must be imagining things." At first, you think, maybe I misheard and maybe I misunderstood, but slowly the pattern repeats. They tell you what you saw didn't really happen. They minimize the hurt they caused, insisting you're overreacting. They twist the sequence of events so it always ends with you being the unreasonable one. And over time, you start questioning yourself. Did I exaggerate? Am I too sensitive? Maybe I really can't trust my own memory. This is not forgetfulness. This is not miscommunication. This is intentional gaslighting, a calculated way to keep you doubting your own reality. Because if they can distort your truth, they can control your world. Why do they do this? Because clarity is powerful. When you know what you saw, what you felt, and what you experienced, you have grounding. You can set boundaries, you can say no, you can walk away. But if they can keep you disoriented, if they can convince you that your truth is unstable, you become dependent on them for definition. You start relying on their version of reality instead of your own. The most painful part of this tactic is not the confusion, it's the erosion of self-trust. When someone twists your reality long enough, you begin to silence your intuition. You stop standing firm on what you know, and instead you shrink into self-doubt. And that is exactly what they want. A smaller version of you that questions everything while they stand taller and more certain. Let me tell you something important. If you feel like you're constantly explaining your feelings, defending your memory, or apologizing for your perception of reality, that is a red flag. Healthy people may disagree with you, but they will never work to dismantle your sense of reality. Healthy people seek clarity. Unhealthy people seek control. When someone twists your reality, they are not seeking relationship. They are seeking dominance. And that is not love. That is not care. That is manipulation at its deepest level. So here's the truth you need to remember. Your perception matters, your memory matters, your feelings matter, and if anyone consistently makes you question those things, it's not because you're broken, it's because they are trying to break you. Trust your reality, trust your intuition, because if someone is willing to distort the truth to gain power over you, that's not a relationship you should fight to save. It's a danger you need to walk away from. Humor is supposed to be healing. It's supposed to be a bridge between people, a spark of joy that lightens the weight of life. But when someone has hidden malice in their heart, they often weaponize humor. They use jokes not to build connection, but to deliver cruelty in disguise. It usually sounds like this: a sharp comment slipped into laughter, a remark about your looks, your intelligence, or your choices that stings like a knife, followed by the casual shrug, "Relax, I'm just kidding." But let's be honest, jokes reveal the truth of what someone really thinks. Sarcasm, mockery, and repeated teasing are rarely harmless when they target your identity, your dreams, or your dignity. They are carefully wrapped insults meant to land without accountability. Because if you call them out, you're told that you can't take a joke. Suddenly you become the problem for daring to notice the cruelty underneath. This is not humor. It is contempt in costume. Why is this dangerous? Because contempt is one of the clearest indicators of destruction in any relationship. When someone repeatedly makes you the punchline, they're showing you that your pain is their entertainment. Over time, this doesn't just hurt, it chips away at your self-worth. You start second-guessing yourself. You start wondering if maybe you are too sensitive, if maybe you are the problem. And slowly you begin to swallow the insults, laugh along, and carry the shame silently inside. But here's the truth: laughter should never humiliate. Genuine humor makes both people feel lighter, closer, freer. Malicious humor leaves one person laughing and the other person bleeding. So the red flag here is not the joke itself, it's the pattern. One sarcastic remark may not mean much, but if every interaction includes a jab, if you consistently leave conversations feeling smaller than when you arrived, you are not in the presence of a friend, you are in the presence of someone who thrives on tearing you down while pretending to build you up. This kind of disguised cruelty is also strategic. It gives the abuser cover. If you try to defend yourself, they can easily retreat behind the shield of humor. Don't be dramatic. Don't be uptight. It was just a joke. And with that, they not only avoid accountability, they also make you question your right to stand up for yourself. But here's what you must remember: you are not too sensitive. You are simply picking up on disrespect. And disrespect wrapped in laughter is still disrespect. If someone repeatedly disguises cruelty as humor, don't ignore it. Don't explain it away, because every joke carries a seed of truth, and the truth they're showing you is how little they value your dignity. A person who loves you will never make a sport out of your pain, and a person who respects you will never need to mock you to feel powerful. One of the clearest indicators of someone's true heart is how they respond when you succeed. Think about it. When life gives you a breakthrough, when you finally step into a moment you've worked hard for, who smiles the loudest? Who claps the hardest? Who looks at you with genuine joy? Those are the people who love you. But there are others, people whose smiles fade when yours grows. They don't celebrate your wins, they downplay them, dismiss them, or even find subtle ways to criticize them. And this, my friend, is a red flag. At first, it may be subtle. You share your excitement about a new opportunity, and instead of encouragement, they respond with indifference. Oh, that's nice. Or maybe they shift the conversation back to themselves. That's cool, but let me tell you what I've been doing. They never pause long enough to celebrate you because deep down your success threatens them. Sometimes it's even sharper. You announce good news and they immediately point out the flaws. Are you sure you can handle that? Or don't get too excited, it probably won't last. Instead of pouring water on your flame, they pour doubt. And slowly, if you're not careful, you start shrinking your joy just to keep the peace. Why do they do this? Because people with hidden malice see your growth as a mirror reflecting their own stagnation. Every step you take forward exposes where they've stood still. Every win you achieve reminds them of the courage they never acted on. And instead of letting your success inspire them, they choose envy. Here's the painful truth. People with evil intentions do not want to see you rise. They want you small, manageable, and dependent. If you grow too much, they can't control you. If you shine too brightly, they can't outshine you. So instead of clapping, they criticize. Instead of celebrating, they compete. But let me tell you something important. Real love doesn't compete. It cheers. Real friends don't feel smaller because you're rising higher. They know your win doesn't take anything away from them. In fact, your win becomes theirs too because love multiplies joy. So when someone consistently fails to celebrate your wins, recognize the pattern. It's not that they forgot or that they're too busy. It's that they are showing you who they are. A person who cannot celebrate you is a person who cannot be trusted with your dreams. And here's what's at stake. If you surround yourself with people who refuse to honor your victories, you'll start to dim your own light just to make them comfortable. You'll downplay your achievements, silence your joy, and keep yourself small. And that in itself is a form of bondage. So guard your circle carefully. Seek out those who clap loudly when you win, who dance with you in your joy, who speak life into your dreams instead of shrinking them. Because the ones who can't celebrate you today will be the same ones who secretly root for your downfall tomorrow. Your success is not a threat. It's proof that you're walking in your purpose. And anyone who sees that as competition has already revealed their intentions. One of the most telling signs of a person with evil intentions is their relationship with peace. Healthy people may not always agree with you, but they respect your need for calm. They value clarity. They desire resolution. But those with harmful motives, they do the opposite. They thrive on confusion, drama, and unrest. Peace makes them uncomfortable because peace means you're grounded, strong, and able to see things clearly. But chaos clouds your judgment. It distracts you, weakens you, and keeps you focused on survival instead of thriving. And so people with hidden malice will constantly stir the waters because a calm environment doesn't give them control. Here's how it looks. They start arguments out of nowhere, turning small misunderstandings into major explosions. They pit people against each other, whispering one thing to one person and another to someone else, creating division and suspicion. They shift blame in every conflict, ensuring nothing ever truly gets resolved. They leave you walking on eggshells, wondering when the next storm will hit. Over time, you realize that instead of feeling grounded around them, you always feel on edge. You're exhausted, not because life is overwhelming, but because their presence is a constant source of turmoil. And here's what makes it so deceptive. Sometimes they don't even appear as the aggressor. Sometimes they pose as the victim. They'll say things like, "Why does everyone treat me this way?" Or "People are always against me." They create chaos but spin it so that they appear innocent, making you feel guilty for not siding with them. This is a red flag because peace is the natural fruit of trust, respect, and love. In a safe relationship, even when there's conflict, resolution is the goal. Disagreements lead to understanding. Arguments lead to growth. But when someone's intention is harmful, resolution is never the goal. Control is. And the easiest way to maintain control is to keep the environment messy. Chaos also has another hidden agenda. It distracts you from seeing the bigger picture. When you're busy putting out fires they started, you don't have the energy to notice their deeper motives. It's like a magician's trick. The distraction keeps your eyes away from what they're really doing behind the curtain. The danger of living in constant chaos is that it slowly becomes normal. You begin to believe that relationships are supposed to feel this way. You convince yourself that the drama is just part of life, when in truth, life is not meant to be one endless cycle of unrest. Healthy connections bring stability. They may challenge you, but they don't shatter your sense of safety. So if someone's presence always leaves you drained, restless, or in turmoil, if you notice that peace disappears the moment they step into the room, pay attention. That's not an accident. That's intention. And here's the truth. You deserve peace. You deserve calm. You deserve to breathe without waiting for the next explosion. When someone consistently creates chaos where there should be peace, it is not love. It is manipulation. And manipulation has no place in a healthy life. Compassion is one of the greatest strengths of the human spirit. It is the ability to look at someone else's pain and say, "I see you, I care, I want to help." Compassion is what binds us together, what allows healing to flow through relationships, what makes us human. But here's the hard truth. The very thing that makes you beautiful, the tenderness of your heart, can also make you vulnerable to those with harmful intentions. Because not everyone who reaches for your compassion is seeking healing. Some are seeking advantage. Some are seeking power. Some are seeking to drain, not to grow. This is how people with evil intentions operate. They learn quickly that you are someone who cares deeply. They notice that you listen when others ignore. They notice that you step in when others walk away. They notice that you're the one who says yes when everyone else has already said no. And then they begin to build a strategy around your kindness. They may exaggerate their struggles to keep you engaged. They may constantly present themselves as victims so you'll rescue them. They may create crises, real or imagined, because they know you'll always rush to fix things. And each time they drain you a little more until you're giving energy you don't even have. And the most dangerous part, they know exactly how to guilt you if you try to pull back. They'll say things like, "I thought you cared about me," or W. "Oh, I can't believe you'd abandon me when I need you most." Suddenly your compassion becomes a leash. What started as love becomes obligation, and what was once free becomes forced. This is not compassion, this is exploitation. Why do they do this? Because they understand something most kind-hearted people struggle with. You'd rather hurt yourself than hurt someone else. You'd rather sacrifice your energy, your boundaries, and even your well-being than feel like you've let someone down. And they use that against you. Here's the danger. When your compassion is constantly exploited, it starts to feel like a curse instead of a gift. You begin to see kindness as weakness. You start hardening your heart just to protect yourself. And that's exactly the tragedy, because the world needs your compassion. It just doesn't need it given recklessly to those who intend to misuse it. So here's the red flag. If someone's pain never seems to heal, if their crises never seem to end, if they constantly require you to carry what they are unwilling to carry themselves, step back and ask, are they truly seeking growth, or are they feeding off my compassion? True compassion empowers others to rise. Exploitation keeps them dependent on you forever. One restores dignity, the other strips it away. And here's the truth you must hold on to. Your compassion is not the problem. Your kindness is not the weakness. The problem lies with those who see your heart as a resource to be mined instead of a gift to be honored. Protect your compassion. Set boundaries around it. Because compassion without boundaries is not love, it is self-destruction. And anyone who exploits your compassion has already shown you they don't deserve the deepest parts of your heart. One of the clearest signs of someone's true character is how they respond to accountability. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, say things we regret, and sometimes fall short of our best selves. But when a healthy person is confronted with their behavior, even if it's uncomfortable, they usually pause. They may feel embarrassed or even defensive at first, but deep down they lean into reflection. They ask questions, they try to understand, because growth, not dominance, is their goal. But a person with evil intentions, their reaction is entirely different. When confronted, they don't pause to reflect. They explode. They lash out. They turn the spotlight back onto you, making you regret that you ever dared to speak up. It usually looks something like this. You gently point out something hurtful they did, and suddenly they are enraged. How dare you accuse me of that? You try to have a calm conversation, and within seconds, their voice is raised, their words are sharp, and the blame is on you. Instead of discussing the issue, they flip the script. You're the one with the problem. You're too sensitive. You always make me the bad guy. This reaction is not about the issue at hand. It's about control. Because if they can make confrontation so painful for you, you'll think twice before bringing up their behavior again. Over time, you begin to silence yourself, telling yourself it's not worth the fight. And in that silence, they gain unchecked power. This is what makes this red flag so dangerous. Anger becomes their shield. By reacting with rage or aggression, they avoid responsibility and keep you in a place of fear. You begin to associate speaking the truth with punishment, and slowly your voice disappears. But here's the deeper truth. People who cannot be confronted cannot be trusted, because confrontation is not about tearing someone down. It's about preserving the relationship. It's saying, I value this enough to speak up. When someone reacts with anger instead of openness, they are telling you that the relationship is not a partnership, it's a dictatorship. And it's not always loud anger either. Sometimes it shows up as cold anger, silent treatment, withdrawal, stonewalling. They may not scream, but they will freeze you out, punish you with distance, or sulk in bitterness until you feel guilty for daring to confront them. Whether loud or silent, the goal is the same, to teach you that honesty is dangerous. But honesty is not dangerous, it's necessary. Without it, there is no trust. Without it, there is no intimacy. Without it, there is no real relationship at all. So here's what you must remember. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. And anyone who punishes you for using it has already revealed their intentions. A person who reacts with anger when confronted is not trying to protect the relationship. They are trying to protect their control. And if control is more important to them than connection, then you are not in a safe space. You are in a power struggle that you can never win. One of the clearest signs that someone harbors harmful intentions toward you is their refusal to acknowledge your boundaries. Healthy relationships, whether friendships, family, or professional connections, are built on mutual respect. But a person with evil intent will treat your boundaries as obstacles to push past, not as signals to honor. You'll notice it in subtle ways at first. Maybe you've said, I'm not comfortable talking about that, and yet they press further, making you feel guilty for protecting your privacy. Or you might set limits with your time, but they manipulate you into saying yes anyway, calling you selfish if you say no, or questioning your loyalty if you decline. Each time this happens, the message is the same. Your limits don't matter, their desires do. This is not care, this is control. People with good intentions may occasionally cross boundaries, but when confronted, they stop, apologize, and adjust. A person with evil intent, however, will minimize your feelings. They'll say things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You're overreacting," as if the very fact that you asserted a boundary is the real problem. They shift blame away from their disrespect and onto your courage for speaking up. What makes this particularly dangerous is how draining it becomes. Over time, you start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're being too rigid, too demanding, or even unloving. That's exactly the point. They want you to doubt your own right to say no. And when your no longer feels valid, you become easier to manipulate, easier to exploit. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They're doors that teach others how to treat us. Anyone who refuses to respect those doors is showing you they don't care about your well-being. They only care about access, control, and power. And if they repeatedly ignore your boundaries, that's not just a red flag, it's a warning siren. Protecting yourself means standing firm, even if it costs you the relationship. Because a person who can't respect your boundaries doesn't deserve your access. When we step back and look at these 9 red flags together, a pattern emerges. Evil intentions don't always show up as obvious cruelty. They show up in the small, repeated behaviors that chip away at your sense of self. When someone exploits your vulnerabilities, twists your reality, disguises cruelty as jokes, refuses to celebrate your wins, stirs chaos instead of peace, exploits your compassion, reacts with anger when confronted, and ignores your boundaries. Each one of these red flags on its own may seem manageable, but combined, they reveal a person who is not interested in your growth, your apathy, or your wholeness. They reveal someone committed to control, not connection. And here's the truth we must hold on to. You are not obligated to tolerate that kind of treatment. Protecting yourself is not selfish, it's sacred. Guarding your heart, your mind, and your spirit is an act of courage. Walking away from people who dishonor your boundaries is not weakness, it is wisdom. We often underestimate how much damage unchecked toxicity can do because we tell ourselves we can handle it or we fear being alone. But I want you to remember this: peace is always better than proximity to someone who seeks to harm you. Silence and